Welcome to One of the Trenches podcast. I'm Johnny Jones. This is Patches Kaplan. We're here live during the college football selection week. What's it, the 10? Week 10 selection
Week
show.
11, Johnny.
Week 11. They're gonna pick the first college football playoff. Where do you want to start, Patch?
It's funny. Someone was telling me tonight's the most important night in America, and I couldn't disagree. I couldn't agree more. College football selection show. I've had this day circled on my calendar for so long. I am so excited to get some explanation on the college football playoff. There's going to be so much going on. Listeners, if we go off script, we are watching the selection show live behind our screens. So we will be kind of watching it and talking as we go. Kind of buckle in for a kind of a long show, but we're gonna get going. So
yeah, I figured we break down last week.
Playoff, Johnny, but I think we get our normals out while they're doing all the fluff in the show.
Oh no, it's going to take them so long to really get the bracket out there. So I think we break down last week and then update as we go, and then kind of preview the next week.
Yeah. All right. So real quick update, Johnny. We have gambled on 72 games. You are 34 for 72, so batting at about 44%. I am 42 for 72, so I am in the money. I took a huge lead over you in the Cheesecake Factory bet, so you better be starting to save up for that.
Wait, what?
I'm winning 18 to 15. I picked Vandy last week plus 7. Crazy easy pick. Crazy. Don't ever bet against is it Diego Pavia?
Yeah, Pavia. Yeah. Don't worry. I got a good one.
We'll see you come back. So real quick to go through it. Our games last week were Ole Miss versus Arkansas. Yeah. Minnesota versus Illinois. Vandy versus Auburn, Oregon versus Michigan, the Florida-Georgia game, A&M versus South Carolina, Pitt versus SMU, and Penn State versus Ohio State. To start, you and I were both so wrong about Ole Miss, Arkansas.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. I thought Arkansas was really going to put up more of a fight. They look kind of pathetic.
Ole Miss is the team that I would be very, very scared of, and I'm going to preemptively add it to my last week's conversation about a team that would scare the bejeebers out of me.
Okay, I'm going to kind of push back, but I'll let you go first.
Johnny, a team that can drop 63 against a very mid-tier SEC team that's showing some upwards progression on both offense and defense is a scary team. Jackson Dart threw for like 6 touchdowns, 550 yards. Against a team that, and I'm going to fast forward here, against a team like Georgia, who's not playing at their best that we've seen in the last 4 years, even the last 6 years, they're really not their best. I would be very, very concerned.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like they're such front runners. Like they beat up on these teams that are more talented than, and you kind of get them in a rock fight, and they always disappoint. Like I don't know. I just keep thinking of that Kentucky loss where, they kind of got bullied up front, and I think when they get in the playoff, like, who knows who they'll be matched up with. You said Georgia. Like, I think when they find a team that's bigger on them, especially when they find a good D-line like Kentucky has, like LSU has, they kind of get pushed around.
The inconsistency of Ole Miss would make me very, very concerned. And that's kind of what I was going for, is that a team like that where you're like, yeah, we're going to either hold them for 1.5 yards per rush and 6 yards per passing attempt. They're going to go, 9 for 25 on third down, or they're going to rush for 260 yards on you. They're going to throw for 410, and they're going to drop 45 points.
I agree. I totally agree. Like, their talent's off the charts. Like, Trey Harris is an unbelievable receiver. I think sometimes they just rely too heavy on him, and I really think they miss Quinshon Judkins in the running game, and I think like that's going to kind of.
We saw Quinshon Judkins' best game this weekend.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
He played well, but I'm just saying, like, I think they're going to really, I think you got to run the ball in this playoff. Like, you got to be able to run the ball. You got to be balanced on offense to kind of go far in this playoff, win a couple of games. It's not just 2 games you're in anymore. You're going to win 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Like, you're going to need to be balanced. And, like, I just don't know if they are yet.
Yeah, it was tough. So I am pausing right now. On my screen, I have the college football playoff top 25. Do we want to pause here, Johnny?
Let's do it.
Number 25, we have Army, 8-0 Army in the AAC. They are currently the favorite. They are my underdog to make the playoff. That's crazy that they are ranked 25. The disrespect, what the hell? Missouri, 24. 6-2 Missouri getting dropped by Alabama, 34-0 is at 24.
No, that's disrespectful because Missouri has looked like hot garbage this year.
That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. They have done nothing impressive. Their only impressive win is Vandy. Oh my lord.
Yeah, no, looking
Guess
back.
who's next, Johnny? I'll give you $500 cash right now if you guess.
Can you give me the conference?
ACC.
Is it Clemson?
I didn't actually mean I don't owe you that money.
Oh, come on. What the heck? What the heck? No, that's crazy too, because
Clemson at 23, Louisville at 22. This is absolutely wild. I was expecting Clemson at 15, Johnny.
yeah, I know. Clemson really let a lot of people down this weekend. Do you want to move into that game? You kind of want to just go as we go right now?
They're going so fast. I think we got to get this out here before we continue.
Well, no, I think they're gonna go slow with the 12.
Oh yeah, they will. 21, we have Washington State. Interesting. I watched the Big Apple Cup, but besides that, I have watched zero Washington State.
Not a lot of Washington State.
Putting them against Clemson, and this is what I hate about these stupid rankings: is that Clemson versus Washington State, Clemson would be a favorite. Army versus Washington State, Army would be a favorite. Colorado at 20. That is 25 through 20. We have Colorado, Washington State, Louisville, Clemson, Missouri, Army.
Colorado.
What is your initial impression there?
I think Army's getting really disrespected. I think, you can only win the games you play. So, I think going 8-0, they got to be above. Who'd you say was right on? Oh, no, Missouri shouldn't be in the top 25.
No, they shouldn't be in the top 40.
Disappointing. They've been so disappointing. They should have been kicked out after that loss to Texas A&M. That was embarrassing. 34-0 against Alabama, also embarrassing.
Crazy.
They haven't looked like Superman this year,
No.
So I think that's kind of crazy. Clemson,
Johnny, as much as I want to talk about last week, I think we got to keep going with the show. They're still moving.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to pause. We're going to pause on last week's picks. Everyone keep listening. We have 19 Kansas State, 7-2. I think they're third in the odds to win the Big 12. 18, we have Pittsburgh, 7-1. Brutal beat against SMU. Didn't really even show up to the game. No. They lost, 35-13, 34-13, somewhere in those
something
lines.
Like that, yeah.
It wasn't all that close. 17, we have Iowa State. There is such recency bias on this poll, Johnny.
No, it's crazy. No, that's college football for you.
And speaking of recency bias, oh my lord. 16, we have Ole Miss, 7-2 Ole Miss, 63 points against the Razorbacks. We just talked about it. They're at 16. They are the fourth team out of the playoff. Obviously, we know the first four teams are conference championships. First four teams are conference champions. There is another conference champion that makes it, and that's a Group 5 conference champion, most likely. That is crazy. Ole Miss at 16.
Just write these down. You got Army, Mizzou, Clemson.
Army, Mizzou, Clemson.
Yep.
Clemson, Louisville.
Yep.
That would be 21?
Yep.
And then 20 was Colorado. 19 is K-State. 18 is Pittsburgh. 17 is Iowa State. 16 is Ole Miss. 15 is LSU. Go Tigers.
Yeah, no, okay. If we want to talk about something, we talk about K-State over Colorado because they did win head up. But what's very interesting about the whole playoff is that coming down the line, K-State's got 2 losses right now. Colorado's only got 1 loss. So K-State might be ranked above Colorado right now, but Colorado does have a clearer path to the Big 12 championship, which would get them a bye, which is kind of crazy.
Absolutely. So they have pulled out the projected bracket here. So I'm assuming they're going to start going through that, and then they'll do the first 4 teams out, like they used to with the bottom 6. So the second team out, which is number 14.
Yep.
Texas A&M.
I agree. They shouldn't be in.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think they've really earned it yet. Wow. First team out, money. Guess.
If you what's their best win right now? I'll pull up the schedule right now. And
their best win is LSU. First team out is SMU out of the ACC, Johnny.
And I agree with that. And that's something I've been talking about.
You know what's interesting about recency bias? Is that things can change in college football with snap of a fingers, a single botch snap, a bad snap, a kickoff return. It is wild how quickly things change. Think about the narrative. And I just want to throw something out there. I hope you know I have abandoned your Ducks as my number 1 team to win the national championship. I have picked a new team. Everyone has been asking me about it. I will reveal that.
That's egregious.
No, you'll understand why. We have at number 12, the Mountain West Conference, Boise State at number 12. No surprise there. Everyone
No.
knows that they're going to, if they get in, they will be number 12. Where I'm going with this, Johnny, is the recency bias is crazy, and especially in college football when you judge losses so hard. And if Notre Dame, hypothetically, right, I'm going to bridge this. If Notre Dame beats Northern Illinois in the ugliest win possible, they are a top 5 team, no doubt in my mind.
No, but I'm going to push.
Possible. You're talking one possession, one field goal, 7 yards is all that difference would have made. And Notre Dame's a top 5 team. Instead, we haven't seen them yet. They did just announce number 11. We have the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer's Crimson Tide at number 11. I am praying to the goodness gracious gods that they lose to LSU this Saturday because I do not think that they should be in.
I want to talk back about that Notre Dame take because I agree. Based on how the AP poll goes and like how like they were ranked so high in the regular season, I agree they would have been top 5, but I don't think they have deserved it at all. Who have they beaten?
No, but the same goes to Army. It's crazy like how we talk about losses like South Carolina. We're talking about how good South Carolina was and how they were 3 plays away realistically from being a 1-loss team.
No, but the Notre Dame thing is like them not being in a conference is so tricky right now because who have they played?
No, it's impossible. Some years it's super beneficial, and other years it's not. It's so unpredictable because everyone thought FSU was going to win the ACC.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be a huge matchup this weekend.
No, and that's going to age poorly. The Virginia game's not going to look great. Army's do or die for them, and then even I think USC's very tricky game for them because they lose a lot, but they play close games against good teams.
Yeah, they do. I got to interject here. We have number 10 is the Irish. No surprise there. Then we have BYU at number 9. BYU would play the winner of 12 and 5. So they are ranked. They are projected to win the Big 12 based on this bracket. Very weird way they're going about this. They did 12, 11, 10, 4. Excuse me. Yes, they did 4. 12, 11, 10, 4.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird because like you might not think they're the best team, but you might not think they're the 4th best team, but how they're going to do the playoff is they are the 4 seed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I kind of like that. It incentivizes winning the conference, saying, "Hey, you're going to get 2 home games." Is it?
Yeah, you're gonna get 2 home games. But if we talk about the Big 12, like BYU coming in, that like the projected winner, they are the only 5-0 team, the only undefeated team. Like the teams knocking on their door, K-State's 3-2, Colorado 4-1, and then Iowa State 4-1. And that's and K-State and Iowa State both have to play each other.
But BYU already has the tiebreaker against Kansas State. That's tough.
Yeah, but if Colorado beats Texas Tech, kind of an easy rest of the path. OK State and Utah not looking great. It could be a Colorado.
But both teams I would not want to play.
Certainly. No, but I'm just saying Colorado BYU kind of is looking like it could be the Big 12 championship because I think
that is a crazy thought.
I think
Johnny, just released number 9. We have Indiana at number 9.
I like that. I think.
Did you watch that game at all?
I didn't watch the Indiana game this week, but I think you have to put them at 9 just because they haven't played anyone yet. And then until they play Ohio State, then maybe we bump them up. But until then, I know they're beating the crap out of teams, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think that they deserve to be any higher. I do think they deserve to be in. I don't think they should be any higher.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because the teams that they're playing are all mid-tier teams, probably top 55, top 60 teams in the college football scene, but they're nothing crazy. I think their best game was last weekend where they went down 10-0. First time they've gone down, I think, all year, and they responded with 47 unanswered. Absolutely insane, their offensive power. We have the first matchup that I wish you could see how weird they're doing this, Johnny.
No, I like listening through you. This is insane.
Try to keep up, everyone. So we have Indiana playing Tennessee. 8-9. That's an interesting one because Tennessee would have that home game, and I believe that they would play.
Neyland's tough.
8-9 would play the 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure right now. I'll look it up, but Neyland's tough. But do you know why that would be such a great matchup? Because Indiana, such an offensive powerhouse. Tennessee, one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah, very sneaky. Everyone's really, really excited about that Tennessee Georgia game That's going to show a lot about the SEC picture.
I do think though Georgia owns Tennessee, which is tough.
They do. They own them. We have whoa.
It's crazy.
That is interesting. No, excuse me. That is confusing. We have Alabama, Texas as our next matchup. Alabama ranked 11th in the college football playoff. Texas ranked 6th. So they are the 11-6th matchup.
Were they not
Texas
7?
is currently 5 in the AP poll. What they're doing, Johnny, is they're listing them as the
Are they doing
football poll.
Are they doing like the quadrants first? Like, is that why they?
Well, it's all one. So they're like starting here and then they're moving over. So it's all like do. But they're listing them as like Alabama at 11, which makes sense because in the AP poll they're also 11, and then underneath it they would do the 6, but then Texas ranked 5 in the AP poll, so it says 6-5 Texas, which is very confusing. That is interesting. Texas has yet to impress me. Their game against Georgia, they had a really good quarter, but besides that, I was very, very underwhelmed by their performance. I think they need to be a good team. I don't think they really have a chance until the SEC title.
I don't know. I think I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure they end the season with a. Do I have it written down? Okay, yeah, no. I have a lot of the conference, all the conferences, how it's going to shake out written down. They end the season with Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then last game of the season, A&M. Florida showed this week that they've got some fight in them, especially if DJ Lagway can come back. Arkansas looked really bad this year, but has proved in some games, especially the Tennessee game, they come to play. Kentucky's kind of a bullish team. And then A&M's a tricky game. It's a rivalry game. They haven't played in a couple of years, I think. So that could be a great game. So that's a tough
I think Texas can drop that game and still get in the playoff. I think A&M needs to win it to get into the playoff, but I do think that Texas can drop that one. I don't think they can drop 2. It's kind of crazy like how schedules play it, because if LSU wins out, Johnny, they could be a 2-loss team that's in. Texas loses another one. It's unlikely that they get in. So it's crazy how there's 2 losses are not equivalent.
No, 100%.
That's obvious, right? Like obviously, like a 1-loss Notre Dame team can miss the playoff, even but because their 1 loss is Northern Illinois. But it's crazy because in previous years it was, hey, you have 1 loss, it's likely you're not even going to make the playoff.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, even if that loss was okay, you could still possibly get in. So we have in the 5 spot, it's funny how this worked out, Johnny. We have the first round, 12 versus 5, Boise State versus Ohio State. Indiana at number 9 playing number 8 Tennessee. Number 11 Bama playing number 6 Texas. And then they just moved it on me.
It's got to be Penn State at the 7 then. It would have to be. And then it's going to be Oregon 1, Georgia 2.
Georgia was at 3.
And then, so what's the 7 spot, Penn State?
Let me rewind it here. Let me see if I can.
No. So then, I don't know.
Excuse me. I didn't see that there. So we have Indiana versus Tennessee. Winner of that plays Oregon. Number 11, Alabama plays number 6, Texas. Winner of that plays Miami. Number 10, Notre Dame plays number 7, Penn State. Winner of that plays Georgia. As an Irish fan, I would not like the path that they're on. They got to get to the 8 or 9 spot in my opinion.
Got to get to a home game.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I really like Indiana, but like you talk about that 8-7, like even 6, like Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, all vicious places to play.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is tough. If this was to play out the way they predict as it sits now, Notre Dame, Penn State heading to Georgia, winner of that playing the winner of Alabama and Texas versus Miami. Yeah. Tough side of the bracket.
Wait. What number was Miami at?
3.
Okay, and then what was Georgia?
It goes Oregon at 1, Georgia at 2, Miami at 3, BYU at 4, Ohio State at 5, Texas 6, Penn State 7, Tennessee 8, Indiana 9, Notre Dame 10, Alabama 11, Boise State 12.
Okay, let's go. Instant reactions. What are you thinking?
There's no surprises, I guess, is the best way to start there. That there are no surprises, this is not how it will play out. I think that Miami will actually win the ACC, but I think they end up 4 rather than the Big 12 ending up as 4. I think that they drop a game and or just look very unimpressive while BYU can scroll it. I think that Ohio State, I know that the loser of the Big Ten championship is going to be number 5. That is
No, the
goes
Big
without being
Ten.
said.
I think this weekend showed us especially that the Big Ten is the strongest conference by far. Like you saw some teams, the ACC slip up. You saw some teams in the Big 12 slip up. The SEC is like an absolute mess. Like I'm looking at the top. There's no undefeated teams. I'm looking at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. You got 4 teams with 1 loss, and then 3 teams with 2 losses, and a bunch stuff to play each other. So that like the end of the season is going to be crazy for the SEC.
No, it
Whereas,
really is. And I'm more rattled by the teams that are out. The 15 through 25 absolutely blew my mind. Army at 25 is very, very surprising how low they are. They're an 8-0 team. There's teams on there with 3 losses that are higher than them, and that just surprises me. It's tough. It's tough. I wish the playoff committee would come out and say what exactly they're trying to evaluate a little bit.
No, I would say Army over teams like Louisville. I'd say Army over a 2-loss Kansas State right now. I'd say Army over Pitt. But I
Gun
don't
to
know.
my head, the only team that I'm actually surprised they put in was Alabama.
Yeah, no, I think if you took out Alabama, the rest of those 11 teams, I think 1,000% deserve to be in. If you were to pick immediately a team to get in over Alabama right now would be tough. I think you would have to think about.
I'd probably say A&M if I had to be honest. I think they had a really bad slip up.
Oh, but they just look
They
so
passed my
bad this
eye
weekend.
test.
They look so bad, though.
I think LSU has the best chance out of the group to make it in over Bama. They're going to prove themselves. They're at home, night game. I think they win. The only thing that's concerning is Bama's coming off a bye week. LSU is not. No, wait, excuse me. I think they're both coming off a bye week. Regardless, the game has a bunch of history to it. They went into overtime 2 years ago. Brian Kelly's amazing first big win as the Tigers coach. Last year, I'm drawing a blank on what happened. I think Bama beat them.
Yeah, no, they did.
They did. Yeah, it was a crazy high scoring, crazy yardage type game. Yeah, that's the only one I can say that I'm actually surprised got in. I don't think that pans out. I don't think that Bama gets in. I think Notre Dame actually ends up higher on that list. I would also not be surprised if the 2 SEC teams that get in are not Tennessee, Alabama, but rather LSU, A&M.
I think Notre Dame only moves up if someone loses, because I think if all those teams stay the course, then I don't know how you put them above any of those other teams. Like I don't think you put them over Indiana. I don't think you put them over Penn State right now. Maybe Tennessee, because what does Tennessee have 2 losses? And then I think Texas is going to drop one, and then they'll jump Texas. But
yeah, no, I think that it's funny because the 1 through 4 is obviously set.
Yeah.
Then we have 5 and 6 is most likely Big Ten runner-up, SEC runner-up. Has to be. From there, it's kind of a shit show of who's going to be where. I don't think that Notre Dame can't jump 5. Notre Dame can't jump 6. So the best that they can do is 7. They're not going to get 7 because they're going to give it to the 3rd ranked.
Yeah. The way you said that just popped something in my head. I think the way that 5, 6, 7, 8 is going to go is I think it's going to go 5 Big Ten runner-up, 6 SEC runner-up, 7 second Big Ten, and then 8 either 3rd SEC or Notre Dame.
Yes, they're just gonna alternate.
And I think that since the Big Ten has looked stronger, I think they'll get like that kind of dibs, if we want to call it, over the SEC on that 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that best Notre Dame can do is 8. I would much rather him be at 8 or 9 than him be at 10. I think that the 7. I think if you're ranked 10, 11, 12, you're set up for failure as it sits. I think that could be very problematic for Notre Dame.
Even 9's tough because you don't get a home game. Like I really think it's such an advantage. Yeah. Like right now, that 5, 6, 7, 8 is Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Tennessee. Them all getting home games is so huge.
It is. It is crazy because it's. I'm trying to remember. The final selection shows December 3rd. I think the first round's like December 18th, 19th range.
Yeah, we might.
And you're talking these fans are going to be now not taking finals. They're going to be jazzed up for about 2.5 weeks worth of preparation. That home field advantage is going to be well
It's
worth more than
huge,
3 points in almost all of these stadiums.
especially if you get that night slot. That
Yeah.
night game is gonna be absolutely insane.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. We're gonna come back to this, Johnny. We do have to talk about a little bit about our games that we picked.
Yeah.
I do want to cover the AP Foley's just a little bit. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up here.
Yeah,
So
you're good.
we left off Minnesota, Illinois. Our boy Max Brosner gets that win.
He's looking really good right now.
He
He's
is.
looking like
I give him a lot of credit. He's adapting really, really well. Minnesota's kind of rolling. I love to see it. We both swung and missed on that one. Sorry, Max. We have Vanderbilt versus Auburn. We both took Vandy at +7. They obviously won 17-7. Hugh Freeze is on that hot seat. I love to see it. I've told our fans more than once why I dislike him, and I love to see him lose. It goes to show, like, what's also crazy about the head coaching thing is how much these programs are swinging and missing. Is everyone was like, "Oh, Hugh Freeze is legit. What he did at Liberty is so good. What he did at Liberty is so good." The next head coach at Liberty went undefeated or had a one-loss season back-to-back years.
Yeah, no, I think, like, they play in a crazy easy schedule, and they do kinda out-recruit compared to their conference, so I think that's kind of an easier place to win, especially if you're, like, a high-profile coach, like, at, like, those kinda smaller conferences, you get a big name coach, it's so much easier to out-recruit your opponents.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We have Oregon versus Michigan. We both took Oregon -15. They covered.
Mhm.
How are you feeling after that game? I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a blowout than it was.
Yeah, going into the big house, I think the biggest thing is just go out there with a win. I think people want Oregon to kind of just blow out teams like this, and maybe they should, but I kind of think we touched upon it last week that there's not really a need anymore to do that. Like back in the day, you needed to blow out everyone on your schedule to get in that top four. And you saw that out of the Ducks earlier in the season. Like those kind of first 4 or 5 games, they're kind of feeling it out. They were getting comfortable, but they weren't killing teams. And I think that's what they're going to do. And they're going to show up for big games, and they're just going to win the games they should.
Yeah, they just got to get W's in that win column,
Exactly.
and they're going to win the Big Ten. I think that they are bar none the best team in college football. It does not surprise me at all that they are number one ranked. I think the gap between 1, 2, 3, 4 is so large. Between Oregon's pass rush, their offensive line, their pass game, their coaching, their wide receiver core is what is impressing me the most. We're going to talk about Penn State, but that is Penn State's biggest fault. They cannot find a wide receiver to change the outcome of a game. They had one really, really good catch, but their best player was a tight end. There's only so much he can do. He had 97 yards, I think it was, both rushing and passing. And it was like 50% of the offensive production. You can't have a wide receiver or a single tight end do that.
No. Oh, wait. We want to talk Penn State now, or do we want to?
We don't. Sorry, didn't mean to jump like that. But I am saying that Oregon has all of the components that make them an excellent team. I don't see a team. Maybe Ohio State is the only other one that I see them possibly competing together.
And then
I see Oregon beating every single team in the SEC pretty handsomely.
But to talk about that, Oregon's so deep. Ferguson at the tight end spot, both those receivers, Stewart and Tez Johnson, great. Jordan James also a running back. And I think you can compare them. Maybe Ohio State's a little deeper in the receiving core, in the running back core. But I think the biggest thing, if you put those teams on paper, is Dylan Gabriel's going to win you games. Will Howard is not. And that was my takeaway. We'll talk about that game later, but Will Howard is not the guy. And Dylan Gabriel is the guy. And like you think about, it doesn't matter if your wide receiver is better if you can't get them the ball compared to how Dylan Gabriel can get Tez Johnson the ball, can get Terrence Ferguson the ball, can get Holden the ball. And I think that's what's going to kind of propel the Ducks forward.
What's that term that everyone's calling Brock Purdy, Johnny? It's a game something.
A system quarterback.
System quarterback, game manager. With Ohio State's offense, you have to be, I would say, a little bit more than a game manager. You don't have to be an elite player this year.
No.
But you cannot throw a pick six in single coverage to the field the way he did on the first opening drive. Follow that up with, I think, 12 or 13 minutes of game time later, fumble on your own 1 yard line or the opponent's 1 yard line, kick it out of bounds, get a touchback.
But the thing is, like, this this is a consistent problem. Like, you saw it in the Oregon game with the slide. You saw it in the Iowa game. I know they killed Iowa, but he threw one of the most egregious picks of all season in that game. Then you saw it again at Penn State on that pick six. It's like time and time again, he's costing them drives and plays and putting points on the other team's board. And I think that's really going to cost them. And the thing I hated the most was him coming out in the press conference before the game and being like, I was a Pennsylvania kid. Penn State didn't want me. We'll see if they want me this week. And it's like, Ohio State didn't want you. They didn't. You had to go play 4 years at Kansas State. It's like,
Yeah, and Kansas State was bad too. That whole like I have vengeance towards a team that didn't recruit me never really makes sense to me. It's like,
no.
dude, you could have been number one on their recruiting board, but if your tight end room has TJ and I'm just gonna make up stuff, TJ Hawkinson, Michael Mayer, you know, Brock Bowers, like all these really talented tight ends, for instance, you could be the best tight end in the nation and they're not going to go to you. Why the heck would they? And I'm not saying he is, but the recruiting thing is, you know, one man's garbage is another man's treasure. And I'm not saying he's garbage or treasure, but to do that fake BS of, oh, they didn't want me, dude.
Oh, it's crazy.
Literally none of the top 10 teams in the college football scene wanted you. You ended up at Kansas State, you know, when they were very, very mid.
Yeah. No, 100%. And even now, I still don't think he's a good fit at Ohio State. So, you know, we'll see going forward. Maybe they'll win the national championship and prove me wrong. But
I don't think they will, Johnny. I think that they're going to lose because of this. It's going to be Ryan Day's biggest fault of the entire season is that they were one really good quarterback away from winning a natty. I think if they get even someone, the bridge between Dylan Gabriel and Will Howard, you know, if I was to give them, like, you know, you ever see those PFF grades where in the NFL they're like, oh, 86, you know, Dylan Gabriel's playing at like a 90% or better. You know, I think he's an A-plus player. You know, Will Howard's playing at like a mid-C's. You know, kind of like you and I in chemistry. You were in the mid-90s. I was in the mid-70s. Still hung out. It was a lot of fun. All I'm saying is that the difference between these guys is so big that you need to cover that ground just a little bit. I have not seen any improvement out of him. I've seen, if anything, he's not going downhill. But you can make turnovers. You can make bad plays. You cannot make those bad plays that are such game decision makers.
And consistently. Like, no, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, because it's just great. It's just crazy. So we're going to come back to Penn State, Ohio State, because I do have a lot more to say on them. Florida, Georgia, we talked a little bit. You and I both picked, I picked Florida. You picked Georgia. You did not cover, just barely. I covered on that one. Florida is showing some grit. Billy Napier's coaching for his life. It seems like it's the same conversation every single week. Still think he gets shit canned.
The tough thing is, though, like, who knows what happens if DJ Lagway doesn't get knocked out of that game. But kind of piggybacking off the Will Howard take, is Carson Beck that good? Because it's been multiple times this season where he's turned the ball over very consistently. I know they won that Texas game, but he had, 2 or 3 picks in that game? I think he had 3 picks in this past week against Florida. In the playoff, you're not going to win games if you continue this. And it's like Florida is not a great team. They're playing better football right now, but they're not a great team. You can't do that. You can't give them a chance to get back in the game. And
three picks is unacceptable.
Like, I don't think Georgia's not going to win a national. I think they're so talented, but they're not going to win a national championship if Carson Beck is playing like this.
No, you know, I gotta wonder when these major programs are going to slowly start transforming into, you know, someone else. Like Carson Beck, yes, he had a great last year. Don't get me wrong. He is not the same player this year. There's no doubt about that. You know, loyalty is going to be the downfall of Georgia. They have some good backups, and they should start to explore them. He is kind of a liability in the same way Will Howard is. I'm going to go as far as say Carson Beck's even a bigger liability because Ohio State can run the ball down their throat if they have to. Georgia cannot. Georgia cannot run the ball. No. And Carson Beck, it's sad to see. It kind of seems like he's forcing everything. All these RPOs and all these play actions that he is throwing, he seems to be trying to thread a needle. It just ain't there. He just doesn't have the talented wide receivers that are beating these DBs and these safeties and these outside linebackers by that step that they need to where that threading the needle is going to work. And he's throwing these interceptions.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
It's sad to see, but it's got to be talked about. I was a little bit surprised by that. You know, it's not long until I think that they're going to explore other options because he is truly a liability as well. Moving on to Texas A&M, South Carolina, Johnny. I'm kicking myself. I texted our friend Keith. I said, no way A&M is on.
Bad.
What's the word I'm thinking of? Upset alert. There's just no
No,
way. They played
bad.
so good. Going into South Carolina, I knew they had a really good D line. I did not know it was like that.
No. No, they do have it. Like, they like 4 pros on their front 4. But
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's no excuse for a 24-point loss to an unranked team. It's like A&M, they had like I said earlier, there's like 17 because they lost this game, there's like 7 teams now in the SEC hunt. They would have had a chokehold on the conference.
They
And
just had to
now,
get through this one, they would have been probably ranked 7 in the playoffs.
yeah, because going down the line, their only big game is Texas. I don't know. Their only big game is Texas. And I don't know, man. Like, that was just
I was
such
very surprised to see it because of the second half in LSU, the second half of the LSU game, that A&M team looked like a national contender. I was like, holy cow, this team is so legit. I was listening to the the Unnecessary Roughness podcast, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh, wow, Casey's finally got one. Like, A&M is really, really good. And
yeah.
I told myself, and I texted you this, yesterday, where I'm genuinely concerned that I'm buying into these teams, and I'm just getting beat up. A&M gets absolutely dominated. Clemson gets absolutely dominated. The list goes on. And then
Oh, and I think the big thing about this game was I really like Mike Elko. I think he's a great coach.
I do too.
And I don't love Shane Beamer. Like, I don't think he's been overly impressive at like South Carolina. And I thought maybe going into the season, if they didn't have a good season, he might be getting fired. But you go into the half, it's a 2020 game.
Yeah.
And to get outscored 24-0 in that second half, it's embarrassing. It's
Their running back, his last name's Moss. I'm drawing a blank on his first name. He went down. So there's obviously some type of influence there, but not enough to not be able to put up any points and to let up 24. They couldn't stop the Gamecocks if their life depended on it. It was just not pretty, and that's why they're left out of the playoffs. And it doesn't surprise me. It's unfortunate. I think that A&M is going to be very, very good. I think they're going to be a prevalent team, even more than Ole Miss, LSU, in the next 5 years. I just don't think they're there yet.
No, that last game of the season, that Texas game is going to be a playoff game for them. If they win it, I think they get in. If they don't, they're out. So that's going to be what's so fun about this.
I didn't watch the game. Pitt gets dominated by SMU. SMU has really solidified themselves as the co-front runner of the ACC. Their only loss is to Baylor, which is now the front runner of the Big 12.
No, BYU. It was BYU. It was an 18-15 loss. And
Did I say BYU?
They said Baylor.
Excuse me. I wish. No, it's BYU. I think that, very, very close game. SMU kind of dominated them. SMU, a team in Texas that confuses the hell out of me. How they get so good randomly, blows my mind. There's so many schools in Texas. How they're dominating the ACC kind of surprises me.
No, but I think that's it, though. Being able to recruit Texas and then play ACC schools, like you're saying, like BC is going to line up against you, or Wake Forest. If you got some guys that wanted to go to Texas, want to go to Texas A&M, kind of fell short. Like, they're playing good football, and I think if we're talking AP follies, like, they could be a little higher. 13 is kind of crazy. I think their only loss is to a BYU team that's undefeated.
So, do you want to talk? I want to give you the floor a little bit because obviously the Nittany Lions are your team. Ohio State, I would not say is my team, but they were my preseason pick to win the Natty. I want to give you the floor, Johnny, a little bit and let you kind of talk PSU, your feelings on them. Are you hot? Are you cold? Where do you think? What's their ceiling? Is James Franklin on the hot seat? Should he get in trouble for that argument with a fan? Give me it all.
I'll start with the last thing. No, I don't think he should get in trouble with the argument with the fans.
I think he would have lost that fight, by the way.
Nah.
The guy had the higher level. I think he could have thrown a nice haymaker at James Franklin's bald head.
I don't know, man.
It was a weird argument. It was a weird argument.
I think I kind of like James Franklin saying, "What's your name?" It's like, dude, if you're gonna yell at a guy, another like grown man, you better just say your name.
Yelling at fans is the first downfall of a coach, Johnny. We saw.
No, I know, but still,
we got in that huge fight on national radio.
Yeah, but at the same time,
slippery slope.
I might have done the same thing in that situation. So, I'm not going to judge him. If we're just talking about the game, though, I think it was a great game. Super disappointing. I think what really, really hurts Penn State is, just red zone efficiency. I think that pick at the end of the first half was an incredible play in our guy's hand, gets passed over to the Ohio State guy. That's a really game-changing play right there. I think that could have gone either way. At the same time, it just really hurts not to see Tyler Warren or Nick Singleton get the ball on those that first and goal in the second half. Like, I love Katron Allen. I think he's going to be a really good running back. It's going to play on Sundays one day, but I think Nick Singleton's also a really good running back. And I think Tyler Warren's our best player. So I think those two guys got to get the ball in the red zone. At the same time, though, I think it kind of showed that Penn State can hang with the big dogs. And I think that's been a question in the past. Like, I think Ohio State, Oregon, and Georgia are kind of in this upper echelon of football right now. Earlier in the season, Texas was in there. I think they've been kind of disappointing the last couple of weeks. So, but I think to see Penn State hanging up there is great because, I think defense is what travels in this college football playoff. And the defense played great. We saw the pick six. We saw them get some stops, like holding a really talented offense to 20 points. So
you're not concerned about the 176 yards rushing?
No, 20 points.
176 yards is a lot of yards, Johnny.
It's a lot of yards, but they also have Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, two of the best.
I don't know. I'm not going to disagree with you. I do. Penn State looked exactly how I thought they would in their. I thought at points that Penn State should have won that game. I am putting 100% blame on, and I always say his name wrong, Andy Stokonecki.
Andy Koltanicki.
Koltanicki. Johnny, a lineman is not supposed to go into motion. A lineman should not be an H-back. Number 71, I'm pretty sure, is a tackle. And if you go, and I want our audience to
that's a new trend, though. When Kyle.
It's such a stupid trend. Pause this, Johnny, right now and go watch those series of plays. That lineman goes 0 for 3. 0 for 3. He misses 3 blocks in a row.
Yeah, no, but I think at the same time, we're going to praise Andy Koltanicki when he does something crazy. We also, you got to take the good with the bad.
I just think in the same thing we critique Will Howard, too, we have to critique these offensive coordinators. Yes, you got to get the brunt of it. I really think that, in that type of offense, in that goal line against Ohio State, you really should be running something double tight. You can run 2 H-backs and then, a running back and a tailback, and you run, something even similar.
Yeah, no, I see that.
Something where you're getting crazy amounts of people in the box. A tight end is used to being off the line of scrimmage. A lineman is not. Everyone is not Trent Williams. Everyone goes goo goo gaga over that play. I believe it was in the NFC Championship against the Packers where Trent Williams comes into motion. He looks like a Secretariat-style stallion running across the field, and he destroys the linebacker. He is one of the best offensive linemen the world has ever seen. Number 71 is a very good player. I have no idea who he is. He's certainly not Trent Williams.
Yeah, I just think
absolutely despise those 3 play calls, and I think that is the reason.
Yeah, I know, and it sucks, but I think at the end of the day, we got to look at the top 10 right now, and it's like, who has a better loss right now than Penn State? Like, they're hanging up there. Like, this has been such an insane season of college football. Like, I guess Ohio State loses to Oregon. I get that. But, Georgia didn't look good against Bama. Texas looked so bad against Georgia. Tennessee has a gross loss to Arkansas. Like, I think this is a season where, dude, like, at number 10, Notre Dame's losing to NIU. Like, I think teams have lost this year.
And I agree with you. I think
all season on this podcast, we've been praising teams for losing close games. And I think, Penn State hung in tough. They're going to win out the rest of the season, and they're going to make this playoff. And I think they're going to hopefully get a home playoff game. It's going to be a really tough team to beat. Because
I agree with you. I think that's your best point, Johnny, is that we do praise teams for keeping things close. I don't think anyone thought, that was a coin flip type game. I wouldn't have been surprised if Penn State won it. I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State won, which they did. And where I'm going with that is their loss against Ohio State. I'm not surprised. Nothing surprised me about that loss.
No,
Texas's loss against Georgia. Where was Texas in that game?
No idea.
LSU's loss against USC. Where was LSU in that game? A&M's most recent loss. Clemson's loss.
All of Tennessee against Arkansas. Tennessee against Arkansas was like Mike.
They're all inexcusable, and in Penn State's going to get absolutely punished by this loss to Ohio State. But no one realizes that this is probably there's a bold statement. Ohio State's loss to Oregon is probably the best loss in college football. Penn State's loss to Ohio State is probably the second best loss in college football.
This might be a crazy take, but I think Penn State at 7-1, and you can put Texas in this category, and you can maybe argue Tennessee with me, is more impressive to me than 9-0 Miami or 8-0 BYU. Like those teams haven't played anyone. Like
No, they haven't. I think BYU kind of gets it a little bit more than Texas or Miami. I think Miami truly hasn't played a single
no
soul.
one. The ACC is bad.
It is bad. They're all such mid teams, and I'm part of me says like, oh, I'm excited for SMU Miami in the ACC championship, and then the other half of me says, am I? Like, am I actually excited for that? Like, that's going to be not a garbage bowl by any means, but like, yes, it has playoff implications, but I don't know. It's one of those things where like it shouldn't have playoff implications.
No, and I think like if SMU loses that game, they're out. If SMU wins that game, I don't know what they're going to do if they keep Miami or not because I don't know who you kick out.
Johnny, Penn State against the other 11 teams in the playoff. I just want to go through them really quick and hear if you think that they are a favorite in a neutral site type Rose Bowl like.
Is this who I think is going to win or if they'll be favorited? Because those are two different things.
My concern is if I think they'll win, there's going to be bias there. You're Vegas. You're a new statistician at BetMGM.
Can we do this with Notre Dame?
We're going to go 12 to 1.
Can we do this with Notre Dame after?
I'm going to hurt your feelings, so go ahead. All right.
Okay.
I want to write this down because I want this to be. I want you to be held accountable for this down the line. Once again, I'm not hacking on Penn State. I have no idea who they are.
You've been hacking on Penn State all year.
No, I'm not though. All right, and I want you to give me a number. So number 12, Boise. What is the line? Boise, Penn State in hypotheticals, of course.
4.5. You can maybe do a touchdown. 4.5, 5.5.
Number 11, we have Bama.
Are we saying these are home games?
These are truly neutral sites. We're going to just for.
I'll say Bama's 2.5.
Wow. Okay. We have number 10 was Notre Dame, which was the matchup in the projected playoff.
3.5.
Notre Dame's a favorite?
No. Penn State's a favorite.
Okay. Is Bama the favorite?
No, those last 3 games, I was saying Penn State was the favorite.
Okay, gotcha. So Bama is plus 2.5. Notre Dame is plus 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have number 9 is Indiana.
Oh, I'm looking at the AP poll right now. Sorry, number 9's Indiana. I'm going to say Penn State's 3.5 too.
Okay. Number 9 is Tennessee. 8 is Tennessee, excuse me.
2.5. Penn State. I'll let you know when I don't think Penn State's favorite.
Yep. We have number 7 is Penn State. We're going to skip them. We have number 6 is Texas.
I kind of like Penn State over Texas.
I do too. I disagree with some of these, but I do like Penn State over Texas. I think they line up well together.
Yeah, no, I think just basically they kind of unlocked Abdul Carter. But like I think Texas will get favorited over Penn State, but I think Penn State would beat them. So I'd say like maybe I don't know, like I think that's a pick 'em kind of.
Pick 'em, yeah, I would agree with that. I would say pick 'em is what Vegas would put that line at.
Yeah,
and we have Ohio State. We're gonna skip. We just played
Ohio State will be favorited.
Yeah, of course. Number 4 is BYU. This is where it gets kind of interesting.
Oh, Penn State's 100% favorited over BYU.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh, dude, you're crazy. Yeah, I'd say I'd say 2 or 3.5.
Wow. Okay.
And same thing with Miami. I think Penn State beats Miami. Miami's defense is so bad, and I don't think they played a good defense all year long.
No.
You're high on Miami?
Oh my gosh, no. I think that so far your most accurate ones are Boise, Notre Dame, Texas, BYU, and whatever you're going to pick for Miami, I'm going to agree with. Because I think that Penn State would actually be a 6.5 point favorite against Miami. Miami screams smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
They are athletic. They are fast. They can score.
But they're going to get pushed around.
They're not going to be able to run the ball. They're going to get number 11, something Carter on Penn State. You know his name.
Abdul Carter had 2 sacks. Yeah.
And I don't see a world where he doesn't get 3+ sacks in Miami. I personally would put Penn State at -6.5. I think they win by a touchdown. I think they shut down Miami after the first 2 drives.
Do you know who Miami really reminds me of? It reminds me of the Oregon teams that broke my heart for a decade, where you're so fast and they're so good on offense, but they're also going to let up a ton of points.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like pure shootouts, kind of old school Pac-12 type teams.
Yeah.
In the early to mid 2010s.
It's just
I would
surprising.
I would pick Penn State -6.5. Then we have Georgia, and then obviously we have Georgia and then Oregon.
Oh, they're not getting favored against those two teams.
I think they would be very, very close to a pick 'em if Georgia keeps where they're going.
Well, it's just tough with Carson Beck because like that defense is awesome, and
Yeah.
at the beginning of the season when they played that Bama game, that defense was shredded with injuries. But now,
That offense is so like lackadaisical at points that like I don't see how Penn State couldn't keep it close. And then their offense is better than Georgia, so to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State could score on Georgia and Georgia can't keep up.
but I'm saying I don't think Vegas would favor them over. Okay, we got sidetracked there. What's the next game we had?
We did. Sorry, just wanted to get that out there.
That was fun.
Because I am curious because my stomach after certain losses, my stomach kind of feels. I feel like sick to my stomach after Penn State's not one of them. I hope they finish out their season pretty well. I think they have a very easy rest of the year.
Yeah, they're like Washington.
I think they are practically eliminated from the Big Ten championship, though.
Yeah, just because I think it might be just it's going to be the winner of Indiana, Ohio State versus Oregon because I don't think Oregon's going to drop another. And then it would actually be very interesting if Indiana won. It would just kind of make it kind of
it'd be craziness. Really quick, I'm going to go through my AP Foleys. We never got to them. I just want to get them out there.
Go.
I think Miami is much too high in the AP poll. I think Notre Dame is too low. I think Bama is way too high. A&M beats LSU is still lower them. But if you look at losses, they have a very similar loss. LSU loses to USC. A&M loses to South Carolina. They technically both lose to USC, University of South Carolina, University of Southern California. But yet LSU is ranked higher than A&M, even though A&M has to win over LSU. The AP poll makes no sense to me.
No, the two funniest things, and we can move on to our picks, but the two funniest things about this poll is LSU being right over Texas A&M 14-15, and then Colorado being right over Kansas State at 21-22. It's like those teams play, and they have the same amount of losses. Like those teams actually
at this point, as long as resumes are remotely similar, which they are in A&M LSU, they are literally almost identical.
Same thing.
They should never pass each other. So moving into our games of the week, Johnny, I'm going to go through them really quick. I want to just yell them at you so you can kind of process them really quickly. I picked for this week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. First one up, we have Iowa is playing UCLA. I put that one on there because I thought UCLA played a hell of a game against Nebraska. Nebraska is a team that's ultra disappointing this year. Matt Rule does not have them rolling as of right now. Thought it was interesting. Iowa is -5.5 on that one. We have Miami's tougher game of the schedule against Georgia Tech. They're -11. I think that Georgia Tech has a chance to upset them. I've had this game kind of circled on my calendar for quite some time now. I'm really hoping Georgia Tech can get in there. With the Miami loss, kind of secures Indiana into the playoffs. Obviously, I have a lot of money on Indiana to make the playoffs, so I'm rooting for them there. Miami is -11. We have Florida playing Texas. Texas is 21.5-point favorite. I thought that one was interesting, Johnny, because Georgia was a 16-point favorite, and Georgia beat Texas.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting. We have the big game. We have two really big SEC matchups of the week. We have Georgia versus Ole Miss. Georgia is a 2.5-point favorite. I think if Ole Miss struggles with Arkansas or even doesn't put up 63 points, like that line is closer to 7. But right now they are 2.5 against Ole Miss. Very interesting. We have Indiana versus Michigan. Indiana is a 14-point favorite. Obviously, like I just said, a huge Indiana fan. I'm rooting for them. That game opened up as 11 points. Is now up to 14. Heading out to the Midwest, towards closer to the West, we have Colorado versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech coming off their best win of the year against Iowa State. Practically knocked them out of the playoff race. Colorado is kind of storming right now. I don't want to admit it. I don't like Shedeur Sanders. I don't like Travis Hunter. I think that they are obnoxious. Colorado is a 3.5-point favorite. An interesting game in the SEC. We have South Carolina coming off their probably arguably one of their best wins under Shane Beamer. I thought they had a really good win with Spencer Rattler against Tennessee 2 years ago. But we'll call A&M their best win. They're a 3.5-point favorite. Vandy's coming off a hell of a win against Auburn at Auburn by 10 points. And then finally, we have Bama versus LSU, glorified playoff game. Bama is 2.5-point favorites at Baton Rouge.
Ooh, wait, you said Bama's 2.5?
That is correct.
Okay. So you want to start first one? Iowa, UCLA. Who you got?
I'm going to go with UCLA. I think that they are a good team. I thought they were a good team way back early in the season. They've had a tough schedule. Absolutely, if you look at like talent per pound per se, they do not have any talent, and they're kind of outperforming who they have on their roster. I think 5.5 points at home is tough. I'm going to take UCLA in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with you. I think UCLA, but I think I was gonna win, but I think UCLA will cover. I think
Yeah.
Kirk Ferentz kind of wins these close, gritty spots like this. I don't think they're 5.5, 5.5, not 5.5, just five's a lot of points in that game.
Mhm.
But I think they'll win, but not cover. I think it's like more like
We
a
have Georgia Tech is playing Miami. Miami is an 11-point favorite. Obviously, coming off a huge win against Duke. Duke was up, I think, 14 points heading into the fourth or the third. Somewhere in those lines, Miami ended up dropping like 27 unanswered, 153, 27, 53, 30 something. Hell of an offensive game. Can Georgia Tech keep up?
no, no, and I like Georgia Tech. I picked them to beat Virginia Tech last week or whatever that was for my upset. But I think this screams Miami's just gonna put up a ton of points. I think Georgia Tech's a really good team. I think it's like some physical defense, but I just don't think they can score at the same level as Cam Ward.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think 11 is actually too low. I was expecting that spread. I believe Miami's at home. I was expecting that spread to be closer to 17. So
Mm,
another full touchdown. 11 seems a little bit low. I like Miami's offense. I think that they can score points. I don't think Georgia's star-studded enough to keep up with them. Florida, Texas. Texas is a 21.5-point favorite. Texas is coming to rebound off Vandy in their bye week and whatnot. 21.5 points. Florida was beating Georgia at halftime 13-6. Obviously, Georgia is a team that beat Texas, the only team so far that's beaten Texas this year. 21.5 seems like a lot, Johnny.
it does seem like a lot. Do we have any idea if DJ Lagway is gonna play? Because I
No,
think
I think
it's
that line is 100% dependent. He has an apparent hamstring injury. Hamstrings are tough to come back of. I think it's a 4 to 6 week injury. If he's not back, 21.5 seems very, very low.
yeah, I know. This like kinda this is so brutal. It kinda screams to me like a Sark game, especially if DJ Lagway's out where Texas is gonna, just really try to impress the playoff committee. So I'm gonna take I don't like it at all, but I'm gonna take them.
I just think that's way too many points. I think Florida's defense is better than people give them credit. I don't see a 3 touchdown advantage for Texas. Texas has been kind of underwhelming in the month of October. I don't think anything really changes. I'm hoping I'm wrong on this one. I want Texas to be back. I'm going to go Florida. We have a huge game. Georgia is at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin. Do you think Lane Kiffin's kind of coaching to be the premier next candidate for a lot of positions? Like, is he hypothetically going for Mike McCarthy's job right now?
I don't know. I've kinda seen whispers of him to Florida, which would be really weird. I think
That
it's
would be weird. Is
I
that the
think
only job that's like really up in the air? That's truly an amazing opportunity.
I guess maybe USC, but
Oh, I don't.
didn't he
I
already
would.
coach
I would. You couldn't give me 40 million a year to go to USC right now.
didn't he already coach at USC? There wasn't Lane there?
Yeah. He got canned
Listen,
quickly.
yeah, so he obviously wouldn't go there, but I think if you're just saying what other premier jobs, I don't know. I think the
Yeah, I don't
pay
think anyone's like truly up in the air
not
besides
yet.
Florida. Auburn is another big one. I don't think he would leave Ole Miss for Auburn. He might. Recruiting in Bama is a little bit better than recruiting in Mississippi.
Mhm.
Auburn's got a little bit better of a name.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart's looking to roll. We've talked about Georgia in extensive detail about Carson Beck. And ETN is a good running back. He hasn't really had that breakout game yet. I don't think Georgia's peaked yet. I do think Ole Miss has peaked.
Yeah, I think they
And that's a little bit concerning. I think this is a very low scoring game. I'm gonna pick Georgia in -2.5 just because I don't think Ole Miss is a playoff game.
no, I don't
I
think
don't
they're
think
a
they're a
playoff
playoff
team,
game.
and this screams to me a game that Lane Kiffin loses. Like this, I just don't think he's a big
You
game.
said he loses.
Loses. Yeah, this screams to me a game he loses. Like I think
I just don't think he's well equipped enough.
no, I just don't think they're talented enough, and I just don't think defensively they're good enough.
Yeah, no, I think that Ole Miss drops this one. I think, I don't see a shootout. I don't see a 45-52 type game. I see a 24-18 type. Moving on, this one's probably going to be a pretty quick conversation. Indiana -14 against Michigan. Michigan
Indiana.
looks absolutely disappointing. They are literally their only hope on saving grace for the season is to play competitive against Ohio State, but Ohio State's going to bring their swords and knives to that game. I'm going to take Indiana minus 14. I think that they are
Me
just
too.
absolutely rolling right now. I think that no one can really stop them. I'm so excited to see what they can do against Ohio State.
I think Michigan put all of their effort into beating Oregon, and they didn't even cover. So I think Indiana is going to kind of wipe the floor with them. Moving on
Absolutely.
to the Colorado game is kind of tricky because like
Very
I hate to say it, but I'm picking Colorado just because Texas Tech won last week. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
I was kind of high on Texas Tech a couple weeks ago. I
Mhm.
like speaking of the peak. I think that they are now hitting their peak. I think they're a really talented team, and I think they can match up with Colorado well. Very good defense, good wide receivers. I'm going to pick Texas Tech because I'll never pick Colorado. I think 3.5 points when Texas Tech is at home is nothing crazy. Colorado,
Yeah.
if they beat this game, if they beat this team pretty handedly, I will be very, very scared for them to win the Big 12. South Carolina, Vandy, both coming off massive wins. South Carolina obviously beat A&M by 24 points at home, night game. South Carolina was ripping. Vandy comes off a very nitty-gritty Auburn win as a 7-point dog. Who you picking? Both very, very solid teams.
Oh, I love both these teams, and that's what I
Yeah.
love about college football. These like gritty teams drop games early, but they're still fighting. Vandy, I just can't pick against Diego Pavia. The guy's just a winner. It doesn't matter. Like he'll score a ton of points against
Yeah.
Bama, or he'll win a gritty game against Auburn. Like they just win football games.
Yeah, no, they're talented. Have a lot of returning seniors. I'm going to go South Carolina. I think that defensive line, that's obviously a
It's
position
really
I
good.
played back in the day. It's a position I continue to watch. I absolutely love what they're doing. That 18 or 19-year-old freshman, while he gets a lot of personal fouls for his excessive celebrations, is a
He's a
really, really good player.
freak.
Has a lot of sacks. He's very lengthy, very flexible in his hips. And then finally, Johnny, we have Bama is playing LSU. Garrett Nussmeier has to play the game of his life here. Is kind of Brian Kelly is looking for kind of the game of his season, kind of saving face a
Yeah.
little bit. If they lose this game, people are going to be getting very, very cold on Brian Kelly.
I'm picking Bama because I think
Wow.
if Bama loses this game, Kalen DeBoer might be gone. No, like which sounds crazy, but I'm serious. Like those boosters got to be kind of nervous right now. I think Bama's kind of just has an overall better roster. I am still really high on Garrett Nussmeier, but that Texas A&M game was really ugly, and I also really don't like Brian Kelly.
I don't like Brian Kelly either. I do like Garrett Nussmeier. I like his accuracy and I like his style playing. He is truly an NFL style quarterback, which I love to see. I think Bama's defense is a liability. And I also think their offense is a liability. Their offense has done nothing special, in my opinion, besides the Georgia game. And Georgia was one possession away from winning that. They were one play away from winning that game. I think LSU is going to squeak this one away simply because they're home. I think that this game is a game that will come
Yeah.
down to whoever has the ball last, or an overtime possession where home field advantage, gets them on a 2-point conversion, just like we saw 2 years ago. I think that they're going to play this game for the playoff spot. I don't think that, just like Ole Miss, I don't think Alabama is a playoff team this year. I hate to say it. I never thought in my life I would say it. They're not a playoff team.
No, I don't know if either of these teams are.
So finally, we have our Cheesecake Factory picks of the week, Johnny.
I'm gonna go first.
Please.
I am going. Let me just get the official spread for you. Duke +3 at NC State. I think Duke's playing some really gritty football. I think they look good against Miami until the fourth quarter. They should have beat SMU. That Georgia Tech's kind of a buzzsaw they ran into, and I think they get this game. I was really high on NC State before the season, and they've just really let me down, Grayson McCall. So I think Duke +3.
I'm going to go Texas Tech +3.5. Obviously, that gets rounded down to 3. I think that Texas Tech played their best game of the year last year. They're going to be rolling. Everyone has nonstop talked about how good Colorado has played in the second half of the season. The Big 12, they're not out of the Big 12 race.
No one is. I mean, literally no one's out of the Big 12
No,
race.
so I think that this is a true conference title playoff game, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I think Texas Tech can win the game at home, just like I said with LSU. I think home field advantage in the month of November is very, very important. The bye week makes me a little bit concerned, but I am a firm believer that bye weeks can do more harm than they do good a lot of times. Very hard to remotivate your team, especially after you see how good they've done over the course of the playoff rankings, the AP polls. I think Texas Tech can win this game outright. simply because of home field advantage. So I'm going to pick Texas Tech +3.
Awesome. Like the pick.
Johnny, well, good luck with you. I
You
am super
too.
excited for Georgia Ole Miss, another game in which we will see what each team is made of. Ultimately, I'm more excited about Bama LSU.
Yeah, no, me too. I think we got some great games, especially in the SEC.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to Matthew Pittman's picks. I'm excited for his comment. I'm excited for his North Carolina pick of the week. We will talk to everyone next Tuesday.
See ya.
Still loading.